Hello, 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 and welcome to our IBC Preview panel discussion with Velocix. Today we'll focus on innovations in hybrid and edge cloud video streaming. We'll be discussing how cloud-native streaming technologies drive down cost, boost efficiency, and boost flexibility of live, VOD, and time-shifted video services. My name is Andy Waltenspiel, and I'm excited to be your host and moderator of this panel today. While in my day job, I'm advising and challenging thought leaders and innovators of our industry to connect the dots. Perfect, let's get started. We have two fantastic panelists, two streaming experts from Velocix. It's John Anderson and Sergio Delgado. Hello, how are you guys?
Good, how are you, Andy?
Great, thank you. Great for joining. So before we jump in, maybe please both of you introduce yourself and also tell us a bit about Velocix, and maybe John, you go first.
Sure. Let me start with introducing Velocix. We're a leading provider of content delivery, recording, origin software for video service providers, and we work with a number of the largest names in streaming video. I'm a product manager at Velocix, and my responsibilities are with CDN, including CDN switching, hybrid cloud, open caching. I'm based in the US in Atlanta, and I've worked at a number of other streaming video delivery companies as a product manager.
Perfect. Thank you, John. And Sergio.
Hey, hi. So, hi, everyone. I'm a product manager at Velocix. I'm based in Portugal. I'm managing Velocix products for our Cloud VR solution, which basically is our Origin product and our Recordings Manager product. And I'm still doing some things with our analytics. I'm handing over to a colleague of mine, and hopefully in the next couple of webinars, maybe he'll show up also to tell us a little bit more on where our analytics product will go in the next near future.
Perfect, great, and all of us will be, and more, will be at IBC. So, dear audience, if you want to see us have a discussion on more deep dive than we can do in this 1 hour, please find us at IBC. We'll show the booth location at the very end as well. Perfect. So, hybrid and edge cloud video streaming, definitely a hot topic at IBC, and it's been also a hot topic for Velocix already over the last couple of weeks, because I saw a few announcements. So new products, new services coming out, and more of that, of course, at IBC and as part of this talk. But before we dive deeper, let's take a step back and maybe offer some context to some of the people who are not as familiar as you with the topic. So maybe Sergio, can I ask you, can you please summarize what do we mean exactly by hybrid cloud video architecture, and why are they important?
Yeah, of course. Hybrid cloud architectures involves bringing together both on-prem and cloud-based streaming technologies. Combining each other's strengths, to offer advantage that neither of them alone can provide. Right. So starting some of these, starting with the cloud-based storage and streaming, they can offer great flexibility in terms to adapt to business needs and opportunities, and some of the challenges, of course, and reduce the risk on some of these investments by aligning, kind of a invest to grow or pay to grow kind of strategy, and aligning these with your business as you're trying new things, or you're adopting and you're growing into a larger scale. So cloud technologies definitely help there, and this is a huge differentiating factor as opposed to the huge investment on-prem. And we've also seen recently that in terms of being greener, in terms of environmental concerns, that cloud adoption actually offers a better overall energy consumption. In this case, better being lower. It's very cost-effective storage, and its processes in terms of maintenance and management is also a plus on cloud platforms, right? And so it's very, very interesting, this streamlined maintenance and management for operators, and for most of these activities. It is very appealing to be for adopting and bringing this technology into the, if we can call it, more traditional and conservative workloads that some of the operators still have.
Okay, but I'm sure there is also a good reason to have on-prem still, right?
Right, of course. On-prem content delivery, they still offer the highest level of cost efficiency with respects to streaming. The egress costs are still significantly lower on if they're coming from on-prem platforms. So they're especially well suited for video applications, that involve high volume of streaming, and what we intend to with the hybrid technology is bringing both these technologies together, so that we can optimize the cost effectiveness, but also, gaining better flexibility and getting all these advantages that we can get, the best of each world, combining them together. Yeah.
Okay, perfect. So that's hybrid cloud. And maybe, John, can you say a few words about what is edge cloud and where does it play the biggest role?
Sure. When we talk about edge cloud, and just like the name would suggest, we're putting it as close to the edge as possible, where the subscribers are located. And the purpose of doing that is to reduce the latency as much as possible and improve the customer experience. So when we deploy in an edge cloud scenario, we're really looking at taking advantage of cloud native attributes of the service as well. So going back a little bit to the hybrid cloud nature, looking at things like elasticity with auto scaling to avoid congestion at the edge, allowing for rapid service growth, and really through a cloud technology, it simplifies some of the maintenance, the upgrade and deployment methodologies. And as Sergio mentioned before, it provides a different business model where you can pay as you grow, so that it allows for that growth at the edge near the subscriber with an improved quality of experience. When we think about edge cloud video architectures, and you look at mobile streaming specifically, we want to make sure that we're getting to where the concentration of mobile users are. And if you think of large-scale sporting events or other congestion points within a market around peaks in utilization, we can deploy edge streaming in things like a MEC architecture or as close to the subscriber as possible.
Okay. So hybrid cloud, edge cloud, question, are those cloud native technologies, is that something for the future? Is it something for right now? Where are we? John, I just want to, or Sergio, whoever.
Yeah, I don't know. John, do you want me to pick it up or?
Go ahead,
go, Sergio.
Yeah. So that's a question that we every now and then we get, either from some customers that are looking into it, or some other partners that want to understand how the industry is, and it is definitely happening, right? So we are currently working with a major American operator to support the deployment of their hybrid cloud streaming platform, which spans from the origin to the CDN. They have identified multi-million-dollar savings, stemming from hybrid cloud approach, and we see this pioneering project as a demonstration of what can be achieved. Not kind of like, oh, you're going to save $1 million on every use case, or it's not like that. But it has been a business case, and the business case is very relevant here, supporting this adoption, right? And so, yeah, definitely, it is to happen now. And some operators, they actually have a cloud-first strategy. When they fully embraced, some of the core concepts of scalability, streamlined operations, and and the pay-as-you-grow, connecting the revenues directly with subscriber growth. There are other operators that are moving at a slower pace, for different reasons. And their instinct it is to stick to on-prem solutions. I've heard this from some customers saying, "Oh, we'll never go cloud." But they say this, and some of them said that, but I'm not too convinced. I'm not too convinced.
Okay. So, but I mean, here the hybrid cloud is not something that was invented yesterday, right? So that's been around a bit. There's a lot of talk. We had several webinars talking about it. Do you see a change in the thinking of those reluctant operators? Is there change, or is it really this is the ones that will never, like the ones you just mentioned, we will never change?
No, I mean, we see an opening here, right? That's I was almost cueing him like that because I remember recently discussing with an operator. He said, "Oh, we'll never go cloud," and someone next to him was like, "Not sure," because we're actually seeing some advantages of moving that. I mean, moving everything to cloud may not make sense business wise, but some of the functions, some of the things, right? And we are seeing these opening up, from some of the more conservative and traditional operators, when they look for where is the value, on that change. We often explain them, the advantages of these business cases, but the challenges are very different. Some they are dealing with rack space issues, which they had not had before, power consumptions, or actually, too many disk failures or too many hardware failures. And they actually end up spending a lot of their operation team's time, managing things that are not core to their business, right? Managing the platforms or managing the hardware. And so they do see an advantage there, or offloading that, almost like outsourcing it to a public cloud provider, right? And so, yeah, as we see this more of a phased approach for those customers. Again, I'm not saying that everything will go to cloud, but we do see hybrid again as the key for the most value that they can bring back into their own content delivery space. Yeah.
Okay, so maybe why don't we talk about 3 key use cases here? Let's talk about live, time shift, and VOD, and see which of the technologies make most sense. So maybe we start with live, which is often said to be the most challenging and demanding, and we all probably seen in the past some big sporting events, massive viewership, and then you see the circle and nothing has happened just before the penalty. And there's a cry out and there's a shitstorm on bad press. So lots of pressure for operators. Are we ready for prime time? That's my question. Now, are those problems of the past? John.
Yeah, well, actually, that live use case, I think, is the best one to offer here from a CDN perspective. When we look at the hybrid cloud technology, it offers a lot of advantages relative to how it can auto scale and address those peaks in traffic on demand. Right. So as that viewership rises and as the hybrid cloud technology kicks off for that peak consumption, we can auto scale up, and in terms of its readiness and availability, it is the use case that we're leading with and ready to support. So hybrid cloud live use cases avoids qualities relative to capacity constraints during those growth of viewership as the program kicks off, just like you explained. And as a result, you're going to deliver a better quality of experience for the end user around that real key event. And it's those key events that drive either attrition or loyalty from a subscriber perspective. So it is really where the dollars should be spent, and where you want to make sure that the right model is in place to support that type of user experience. But again, this is hybrid cloud, right? So we want to make sure that the on-premise piece of it is the key element to delivering the bulk of regular day-to-day traffic, and that as a result reduces the egress costs. Hybrid cloud and the business model that drives hybrid cloud will have a short-term spike in cost relative to egress, but it's that the ability to deliver with quality over those spikes reliably, which actually make it cost effective, rather than building out a large on-premise system to address those spikes. You can do so on a variable pay-as-you-grow, as you need it, with elasticity to reduce your long-term cost burden for a short-term cost spike. So it's ideally suited, and it is actually ready for prime time now.
Okay. Sergio, you mentioned, thank you, John. So Sergio, you mentioned before analytics that you will hand over. Today, it's still on your lap. So tell us a bit about analytics in that aspect of hybrid cloud. Which role does it play? Why is it important?
Well, I mean, as John said, right, ensuring an optimal experience does require sophisticated streaming analytics to assess the audience's experience, right? It allows us to look at performance of the video network, tune it or provide some recommendations on where it needs to be enhanced, where it needs to be scaled up or whatever. I mean, whatever the conclusion is, we look at traffic patterns and network behaviors, and then we'll always try to provide recommendations on how to optimize the system, right? Using dashboards, KPIs, and all of that stuff that we have on our analytics product. With a concern specifically for hybrid cloud, because it's very critical to understand this flow between what is happening on-prem, what is happening on cloud, synchronizations, when are the switches happening, between which parts of the components. It's very relevant for us to assess that data, create those reports and assess that data to understand if we are actually executing the most adequate load distribution, or we having the most making the most cost-effective decisions, based on all this historical information that we can put into our analytics platform and help guide the business towards better decisions. Yeah.
Okay, so that was for live. Now let's talk about VOD and then also time shift. It's obvious the benefits for those spikes. Do I also have such spikes on VOD, or is their hybrid cloud less relevant? So question, which role does hybrid cloud play for the VOD use case?
Yeah, so I mean, VOD use case is actually one case that makes a lot of sense. It actually holds two aspects of it. One is the catalog refresh, where usually there's a period, depending how often the catalog does need to be refreshed. This catalog refresh usually means there's a period of very high, intense compute on the workloads for ingesting content, and so it makes a lot of sense for for customers to bulk into these ingest capabilities of VOD when they need it, and then they just shut it off for the next month, because then everything is pre-ingested and ready to be delivered. But the other use case is it's like the long tail challenge. It's like almost like the 80-20, right? 80% of the content is viewed by, or actually 20% of the content is viewed by 20% of the population of the subscribers. So in this sense, makes that content popularity, in this case, very often aligned with content aging, also plays a big role here. And the long tail means that you need to keep your assets for a very long time in your premium on-prem platform, and they are very unlikely to actually be streamed. So you're just using resources not very effectively. So moving content to a cloud storage platform where as they age, as they are not very likely to be seen, makes a very use case for VOD. And some of our customers, they are actually adopting as a cloud first strategy for VOD, for example. So this is analytics can also help us here to understand where is the best aging or the best time to move content, when we can help us decide when a content is no longer considered as popular. And then, we can leverage that business logic on our products to move, unpopular content or content that is aging to be served from the cloud, or just to be stored on the cloud, freeing up immediately resources on the on-prem platform.
Okay. Sounds great. I'm sure there are some challenges with using hybrid cloud for VOD as well. Are there any? And if yes, how do we overcome them? Maybe John?
Sure. Yeah, with any use case, there's going to be some challenges, and I think Sergio kind of mentioned where they would be. It's on driving the right analytics and the right viewership and tracking of content to make sure that we're migrating those assets across from on-premise to a cloud environment appropriately. It's that intelligence and based upon the analytics where the success of that business model is going to come from. So there's a need to track the viewing patterns for video assets and then again transition that content to the cloud over time. And then it's lifecycle management of that content, right? Keeping it in the right bucket at the right time, making sure that along with the policy that the operator set, that we're able to deliver the video from the lowest cost resources possible.
Okay, good. So live VOD. Now let's talk about time shift video. Is there also some benefit for time shifted video, network PVR? Is the business case as strong as for live and VOD, or is it just nice to have?
No, it is. It is as I think it is as you know. There are clear parallels with the VOD. I mean, especially with nPVR, not so much with the near real time catch up. Couple of hours or a couple of days of content. But what we see as well by looking into the analytics of side of the the viewership, as John was saying, is that we see that content that is older than like recordings that are older than 3, 5, 7 days are very unlikely to be watched. But due to the business aspect of the offer that the subscriber has contracted, like the retention periods of 3 months, 6 months, 1 year, forever, depending on the situations, it makes it very challenging for some of these for some of the operators to keep everything on-prem, right? So there are clear parallels here with the VOD if we look at content aging as well. We can, one of the advantages of this I didn't mention before was when you move these to from your on-prem where let's assume it's your very performant and finely tuned platform. As soon as you move content from your platform to offload it to a cloud platform, for example, you're immediately freeing up resources which you can use to grow capacity, bring more new subscribers, everything, right? If you're lacking on rack space, if you're waiting for hardware, time to deliver, time to market, all of those, if those are the challenges and the needs, you can immediately engage into it and leverage on this as a huge advantage, a significant advantage for with this capability. Of course, we know that moving storage to cloud, you have like 11 nines, your high availability grows almost exponentially, reliability, high availability, maintainability as well. I mean, it's less of a hassle to manage all of that. And you can kind of keep costs under, contained and relatively minimal, as with regards to what you do on-prem. Okay.
So I hear you say it also benefits for you want to accelerate your growth, your expansion, and optimize resources. So
yeah, I mean, it can definitely speed up your time to market if that is your bottleneck. And we do have some customers that have this bottleneck. They want to grow, they can't because their platform is, it's full because of storage in some use cases. They really need to wait for a couple of months for the hardware to come in. Well, luckily now, and that's a good thing, we don't have the hardware lead times we had during the pandemic, which was crazy and very scary. But now, I mean, they still need to wait for, a couple of months, plug everything in, test everything, open the network route. It takes some time. I mean, it takes like 6 months, 9 months, something to put new hardware in, which in this case, it's not immediate, but it's really, really, really fast.
A lot faster than 6 months, for sure.
Yes.
Good. So that was the hybrid cloud part. Let's spend the last couple of minutes on edge cloud before we turn to audience questions. By the way, dear audience, if you have any questions, put them now in the box at the bottom. You find a little Q&A widget. So send us a question, we'll get to it. But first, let's talk about edge cloud. So John, what is the role of edge cloud for mobile streaming And is that really going to deliver a game-changing performance? Where are we? How great is it really?
Sure. Mobile networks are going to continue to grow, full stop. There's more video being delivered across mobile environments than ever before. But even with the greater performance that you get from something like a 5G radio network, there are still issues with latency, startup times, congestion on the network. And those are also highlighted around major sporting events, right? So this is where, from an edge cloud CDN architecture, we can make a difference. And by locating a cloud native CDN cache near where the consumer 5G devices are, at the edge of the radio network, the consumers can benefit greatly from lowering stream latency, from faster startup times, and more reliable content delivery across the edge. Again, this is around those big events and those congestion areas, and sometimes that's hard to predict. So having the ability to have those pre-positioned caches around the network allows for the flexibility of a network to respond when it is most critical. So the other part is it's not just edge cloud streaming. The hybrid cloud scenario works well in this environment as well. We see, for example, a MEC environment as just another element of cloud. So when resources are needed and there's congestion on that mobile network, we can also burst to that MEC environment as well. So any multi-axis edge computing framework with our mobile optimized routing software, which intelligently routes that traffic to the right resource for peak demand, is going to benefit from those types of environments.
Okay, so is that theoretically the case, or have you actually tested it with some customers?
We have tested this type of environment recently with a large European customer, a mobile operator, and using our Edge Cloud CDN, we've tested in an AWS WebLink MEC infrastructure. And we've been able to record significant improvements in terms of latency, specifically when we get that close to where the subscriber sits. And it really improves the congestion and other attributes on the network, because we're delivering at the true edge of the radio network. So we're looking forward to finishing up our testing in that trial, and we're going to release some results of that test shortly.
Okay, good. So hybrid cloud, edge cloud, cool stuff, more to see at IBC, but let's turn to some questions we got from the audience. So question one here was, how long will it be before we see hybrid cloud CDNs more widely deployed? There was some, well, we're still in the pickup phase. So where are we? John, what do you think?
Yeah, I think we're right on the cusp of seeing a lot of adoption in this area. Our CDN 8.0 release, which is targeted for the coming months, will be our commercially available hybrid cloud offering on the cloud DAs. So we'll be working with a number of customers in terms of trialing that and driving that through specifically an adoption of live use case scenarios. But across the board, as we look at other use cases, like we're working on recording solutions and VOD offerings, those are being utilized as well. So we're right at the beginning of the uptick, I think, for hybrid cloud, and we'll have the people who are crossing the chasm first and delivering that technology, making the way for others to follow.
Yeah, okay. Sergio, you mentioned that some people have been reluctant. They didn't want to go full cloud. So maybe some advice. So how should they take the first baby steps? Is it just the discussion? Is it awareness? Where should they start? If they say, okay, maybe we can't do all on-prem. What's the starting point, or what's the sequence of things they should do?
Yeah, I mean, I would recommend, look into the pain points, right? Trying to understand Well, just comparing, and this is something that I think now it doesn't happen as much as it did like 5 to 10 years ago, which was, oh, what's the price? How much does it cost as compared to my on-prem solution, right? And now I think everybody understands it's not a dollar comparison, because there's a lot of hidden things that you can't put a price on it. But you know, but it is what we do first. You know, there's so much that can be done. What should we do? And I would recommend looking at some of these pain points and also looking at the core business of the company. I mean, where is your expertise in terms of, you know, your staff? Where's the expertise of the people that work in the company? Focus that expertise there, and things that you don't own the expertise on, try to see if you can outsource it from something that is available to you, obviously with a price tag on it, but it will be, you know, immediately available for you. So look at those changes, those options. Take a look at the business case, and we can, you know, we were helping some of our customers assessing these business cases, and it's going to be different for every one of them. Obviously, some will have some common pain points, of course, but it's going to be different, you know, depending on what the pains are. Some customers have the pain for, you know, high availability. They want to increase high availability, and they see, okay, I'll need to do a 2x investment on everything I've done. Maybe they don't need to do a 2x. Maybe there's some hybrid approach, and there are, which we are also, you know, discussing with customers. And I mean, this is not. I've already mentioned, you know, time to market and pay as you grow. All of these situations, with for some customers, it seems to be evident, but the business case might not be as clear. And it's like, oh, do I need to invest a lot in knowledge and training? And sometimes it's actually not. You just need to, you know, face some of the interfaces, understand what those are, and then just trust that things are going to work, because they, you know, they do, and there are SLAs from the cloud providers as well. So one size doesn't fit all. You know, we need to align. We are also aligning our product evolution to respond the best that we can to these, to match these expectations, because they're very different from all these customers. So yeah, but I would say, you know, focus on your pain points and challenge yourselves on, you know, don't accept that things can't change because you're just used to they work as they are working for the last 15 years. Well, things are very different and different perspectives. So that's what I would recommend.
Yeah, I think that the answer, that's how we always did it, is to be taken with a grain of salt, because that might be the last thing you've been doing then.
Yes.
But yeah, one thing we did not have time to touch upon today, it's hybrid cloud. We talked about cloud versus on-prem, but there's not just one cloud, there's multiple clouds. So that's my question. How, instead of going to bed with one cloud provider, each one has benefits for multiple things and the strengths here or there. So how should we think about multi-cloud in this context? I know, Sergio, you want to take it?
Yeah, I mean, we can, if you want to look at it as a market, it would make sense to interact with multiple cloud provider, right? Try to get, they have very similar offers. If you compare them, they have very similar offers, even in their, you know, their pricing strategy. They're very similar, you know, one way or the other, you can achieve very similar things. Ideally, you could, you know, as a market approach, you could go with one, try to discuss with others, get the best proposal, you know, try to leverage that. The way I see the challenge is, although all of them offer very similar features, capabilities, and they also offer, you know, the technology, it's even very, you know, it's the same technology, very, very, very similar technology, but the integration, it has slight nuances to the integration, which means that, I mean, you don't need to do the work twice or 3 times or whatever, but it does mean that you need to know, you need to understand the language, because they use different terms. You need to understand the interfaces, how they interact, how, you know, the engagement is. So that may be a bit challenging. And it seems to make more sense to, align with one and stick with that one from more purely from an operation perspective. For us, we can't have that luxury because different customers are aligning with different cloud providers. So for us, multi-cloud, yes, it's a must. And I mean, obviously, we learn a lot with that because we interact with all of them, and this helps us also get a better service and get more to our customers. But from an operator perspective, I mean, I have mixed feelings, but I think it's very challenging for them to work with multiple cloud providers.
I think if we added to that, the volume is going to drive discounting with a cloud service. So the business model is primarily going to support choosing your leading cloud provider and getting as much benefit out of that relationship as you can based upon addressing that. But from a Velocix perspective, we're cloud agnostic. We can work with any platform.
Perfect.
Yeah, that is very relevant, John. That is very relevant. Yes.
Yeah. Good, gentlemen. I don't see any further question here on my other screen. Thank you for being here with us, dear audience. See you all at IBC. Thank you, John. Thank you, Sergio, for this great discussion. Hybrid cloud, multi-cloud, and edge cloud. So we're going to be all at IBC. I think we have a slide with the booth of Velocix. Here we are, hall 5C10. You're going to see Sergio. You're going to see John. And yeah, have a safe trip to Amsterdam. You're going to get the recording of this in a few days. And stay safe and see you in Amsterdam. Thank you, John. Thank you, Sergio. Bye, everyone.
Thanks, everyone. Please jump in.
Bye-bye.
Please visit us on our booth. You can see some of these demos that we discussed, and we can go into more detail.
Perfect.
Thanks, Andy. See you. Bye.
See you. Ciao.